Hola. Oh, Jesus.
Testing.
Testing. So my name is Kara. I'm the executive producer, as Devin said. So I think to start it off, I'm going to let Matt and Marty introduce themselves and say how many episodes of New Metric Media they've worked on in Sudbury. Matt, why don't we start with you?
All right. Hey, I'm Matt Ellis. I'm the production designer at Letterkenny and SHORESY. Over there, I've been in Sudbury working for about 17 years now, and just on New Metric shows alone, I've done 127 episodes of television. SHORESY, Letterkenny, What Would Sal Do, Bad Blood, and one movie, Cass and Dylan, which was the first New Metric show I did.
127 episodes, and you did the math, and that equals how many years of your life, do you think?
Too many. No, about it's 15 production cycles there, so that's, if we give them 2 months each, that's 30 months of work. Probably a bit more than that with all the other stuff we do, yeah.
Like that you're a creative guy and a math guy. Marty, how many episodes have you done?
Matt outdoes me. I did miss one season of Letterkenny, so I've done 121 episodes of New Metric television here in the north. And I've been working in the film industry for the last 10 years in Sudbury.
And Marty, what was your first job in the industry?
Well, I did some volunteering. I went to school at Canadore for the digital cinematography and applied filmmaking course. Shout out to Canadore. So I had volunteered on a few shows during reading weeks and such, but my first actual job after graduation was Letterkenny season 1, and I was a set PA, which is like entry-level position, and have worked my way up now to the assistant production manager.
And Canadore, we are very blessed that we have lots of people. Do you know how many people we have from Canadore who work with us?
Yeah, so last night I did a quick count. I went through old call sheets. So we've had 43 Canadore graduates work just on Letterkenny and SHORESY over the last 10 years, which is pretty good. And a lot of them have been there since, a few of us have been there since day one. I'd say there's 4 of us from my graduating class that have been there the whole time. So shout out to Canadore.
And Maddie, what was your first job in the industry?
I also took television broadcasting at Canadore, which helped me.
You went to Canadore? I didn't know that.
I did,
Jesus,
I'm
look
a
at us.
Canadorian, yeah. Way back when, 2007, there was a French series called Météo Plus that filmed in the Rainbow Mall for 4 seasons. It was shot on 35mm film, and I was originally hired to help set up their sort of fake studio they had in there. They had live television cameras on a real blue screen hooked to a TriCaster studio in a box, little computer, which was part of the actual set, which ran to a switching bay that fed all the monitors throughout the set. Super elaborate, and I think I was making $150 a day or something to do a technical director's job. I should have been making a lot more money, but I did that for a long while, and I kind of grip electric all day while operating this video switcher. They sort of overlooked the creation of the graphics because there was live chroma keying on all the weather stuff. So every day I would go to the director, French series, I don't really speak French. I was like, what's on the monitor today? And they're like, oh, there's a low pressure system going in through Attawaspicat, and you can't pronounce Attawaspicat, that's a joke. So I'd do, quickly wake up all the graphics, and then I'd be switching weather graphics, fading into commercials, and doing all that. So by the second season, I sort of transitioned that setup job and the grip electric work into a full-time technical director job, and eventually joined the editing team as well, doing assistant editing.
God, you've done it all.
Yeah.
And on the first season of what was your first New Metric production?
Cass and Dylan.
And what did you do in Cass and Dylan?
I was a prop master. I came in on the first day of production. I guess their props person had left, or I don't quite remember what happened. So I kind of got thrown into fire, and I kind of recalled Jason Priestley coming up to me, and he kept asking me all these intense questions about the movie like I knew stuff. I was like, well, Mr. Priestley, I've been here for about 15 minutes, so I'm going to try and get all that going for you, but I'm going to need a couple days to get up to speed. Yeah, that was fun.
And Marty, what was your first job on New Metric production?
It was set PA in Letterkenny season 1.
And what does a set PA do?
Well, season 1 was sort of low budget, so I kind of did,
Sort of. It was low budget. There's no sort of in front of that.
It was a different beast, but so I was sort of doing the role of the fourth AD, which is getting the cast together at base camp, getting them through hair and makeup, getting them to set on time. I was sort of doing that, and then when I had no cast at base, I was going to set to help Brad, who's in the audience, who was also our third AD on that show, and I'd be going to set to help him on set because our AD team was literally just 4 total people. Yeah. So.
And then when did you move from set PA to second AD?
So I was the set PA on season 1, and then season 2, I was working on a show called Eyewitness in Parry Sound. So I missed season 2 of Letterkenny, and
That's why Matt beats us in
yes,
episodes. Yeah.
that's why Matt beats.
I
us in
never
episodes.
leave.
But I'm glad that I did that because while working on Eyewitness, I worked. I was the fourth AD, and I worked closely in the same office with the second AD, Alex Champagne, and so then for season 3 of Letterkenny, Alex and I pitched ourselves as the first and second AD, and I hadn't seconded yet, but Alex, I guess I just impressed him in my work on Eyewitness, and we worked really well together. So we pitched ourselves, and the production manager, Chris Danton, at the time had worked with me on Bad Blood, and so he gave us a shot. And then Alex and I did that together for 5 years, before Alex moved on to other things, and I moved into production.
And when did you become APM?
2022.
On.
And that was for Letterkenny's final season.
And I think that's kind of a nice theme with Matt and Marty. Both have moved up on New Metric shows. And Marty, why, and I can talk about it if you don't want to, but why are you so great that you can make that kind of a jump in different productions?
Honestly, I just think it comes down to the people who excel are the people who actually care about the productions. You know what I mean? Like, we're not just there to punch in and punch out. We're not just there to make a dollar. We actually, I mean, I'm the biggest Letterkenny fan, and you guys can attest. Like, I'm the biggest Letterkenny and SHORESY fan that there is. So I care about, at the end of the day, I care about the shows.
Is that why you shout, "Let's make some money" every morning?
Yeah, that might be part of it. Yeah. But I do want to just say, not just myself, not just Matt, but I can think of, there's quite a few individuals who started out in season 1, sort of at the entry-level positions in their departments that have worked their way up on the New Metric shows, and that's a shout out to New Metric for actually taking a chance on or acknowledging people's hard work and giving them the opportunity to grow, because I don't think you get that a lot in this industry.
That's very nice. I do think it is because you guys care so much. I think that's what's so special about Marty and Matt. It's not just a job. Like, they care about every single thing, which makes it so great. Matt, why do you think you moved? Because how did you move from props into production designer?
You made me.
I didn't make you.
Chris Danton made me.
Somebody else made you.
Chris
but what did
Danton.
that look like?
It looked a lot like one phone call. It was, between season 1 and 2, I kind of got a call, and they said, they loved my work season 1, and at that time, like, I was gunning to make my transition out of technician work, props work with IA, and sort of get into the DDC. So, What Would Sal Do was my first show, officially art department. Season 1 of Letterkenny, I actually was trying to gun toward art department. I took 1 week out of my props prep work to do graphics and just like get my feet wet in that sort of arena, and I just went at it hard. I was like pumping graphics out, And
so
then
you were essentially doing the job that you wanted.
I was always, going for the job I want. And it showed up. It has a funny way of doing that sometimes. I was super nervous, and I was kind of like, maybe you want to call me an art director, head of department, and you pay me less, and and he's like, no, you have to be the designer. It's like, luckily I had enough hours at that point to join DGC, and there was no issues there. But it was kind of just. I did good, and they thought I could do it. And then, that's a weird, crazy jump, props to production designer.
Because maybe explain a little, some people know what a production designer does and why that kind of is a big jump.
Yeah, production designer is kind of responsible for the overall look of everything. They oversee 5 departments: sets, props, art, construction, and paint. And they make sure all those elements come together on the screen the way everyone's sort of expecting. And so, you're managing lots of people, you're managing lots of departments, several episodes, and all that all at once. You kind of have to have a lot of things in your head and be able to project your mind into the future constantly.
And what does Jared Kiso, the showrunner of our shows, call you?
Good ideas, or GI now, for short.
Because Matt always has good ideas, and that's why he's called Good Ideas. I think the production designer is so important for the creative and the vision of the show. And how do you work with, say, Jared, or who's the showrunner, or the director? Like, how do you work with the other creative heads of departments?
Yeah, like the lion's share of the work is directly directed at Jared. We're doing graphics, we're designing sets, everything's happening at once, so we're constantly feeding him things for approvals and whatnot. Jared's been really fun to work with. Sometimes he knows exactly what we want, and we shoot for it, and we work through it and refine until he likes it. Sometimes he doesn't know what he wants, and we'll design something, and he'll be like, big hit, and it feels nice when that happens, but that's not how all art and all the perfect ideas come to be. Sometimes you have to slog through lots of back and forth and talking about the little things we like about perhaps a design or set, and then lots of editing and lots of editing and more editing, and then eventually we'll dredge up exactly what sort of hits the mark for him.
And so you've been the production designer for us for a long time, but you've also done other roles in Shoresy. What are those?
Yeah, I guess I've acted a couple times in Shoresy. I was the prison inmate quizmaster season 2, and I have a brief appearance this new season 4, as Greasy Dude.
So Greasy Dude and inmate prisoner number 1.
Prison inmate quizmaster.
Sorry,
Quizmaster.
apologies.
Inmate quizmaster, yeah.
And your music has also appeared in our shows, I believe, because Jared is a big fan of Matt as a musician as well.
Yeah, we got a couple tunes in there from Teleporters and Psych Bike. Yeah, in background, sort of. Letterkenny has some Teleporters tunes, and Shoresy has got a Psych Bike tune in there. But he also uses like other local artists' music,
Yes.
like Jeff Hoole.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jeff, Stranger Tractor. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's fun about our show is, we support the crew, but also Jared becomes fans of them as musicians or in other ways, thinks Matt would be a fun actor or thinks that his music is good, and then we incorporate it all.
Yeah. He's big supporter of kind of everybody he can support around. Seriously, like anybody he can support in a way, he tries to do it. He's pretty amazing guy.
And Marty, how do you work with the creative? So how would you say, as an APM, how do you work with Jared or the directors or kind of the other departments?
Well, in the role of APM, I would say I have less of a constant work relationship with Jared than I did when I was in the assistant director department. But as an APM, I'm working hand in hand with our production manager, line producer, and so we're worrying. The money is now involved in my day-to-day, where it was not before. Worrying about budgets, but we're working hand in hand with every department to make sure that the wheels are running and everything's getting done. Everything's coming in on budget or better, hopefully. And just specifically for Shoresy, I have an additional role, and that is, if anybody's seen the show, it's a hockey show. So for the last 3 seasons of it, since season 2, I've been in charge of booking the hockey and making sure that the hockey is legitimate hockey. We learned in season 1 that casting background and special skills extras for hockey is not the same as it is just booking them for any other show, because Jared, being a hockey player, insists on real hockey players playing real hockey players, not having actors playing hockey players. Because he says you can tell by the way they hold their stick that they're not hockey players, and it takes him right out of the show. So so I sort of just adopted that season 2, vetting hockey players, Googling them, checking them out on Elite Prospects, which is like the hockey IMDb, calling them, making sure that
We vet the shit out of hockey players, is what Marty's saying, basically.
if you knew what goes into that. So that's just specifically for Shoresy, been an additional role of mine, which I ended up loving. Like it's
Yeah, when we're in that arena and you've got like 5 hockey teams in there, he brought them all there. There's like,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah, it's
70,
not easy, but
70 separate people, all because Marty.
yeah,
sorta-
there's some days where we have 70 hockey players in there, and also having to get all their sizes and their equipment for all the departments. Props have to gear them up. Costumes has to have jerseys and such for them. So it's been its own. It could probably be its own role, to be honest. But
Hockey,
It could, probably.
hockey AD.
yeah, but I would never allow that because I won't give it up. So, and it actually has come to help me out because my next job that I'm moving on to is as a result of my hockey work on Shoresy. I'm moving on to the show Youngblood. If anybody remembers the hockey movie Youngblood from the 80s, my favorite movie growing up. It's being remade, and I get to work on it starting October 7th. So it's shooting in Barrie, but not up here. But I'm going down there because I'm so excited. It's kind of a childhood dream to work on your favorite movie being remade, I think. And that's all just because of the experience that I've had on hockey with Shoresy. Word traveled.
And I think, so we gave you the hockey player vetting and booking because it was a job in season 1 that was very hard. And I think we did a pretty good job at it. We had to let go of one cast member who showed up and skated around, and literally Jared skated around with him, got off the ice and called me and was like, he can't skate. And we had to send this kid home. So after that, we really learned our lesson about how much we vet. And so whenever I have a hard job that I can't quite figure out how to get it done well, I basically ask Marty or Matt to help me figure it out, and they do, and it's done beautifully. And on that kind of note, Matt, you helped out with the tour. So we did the Letterkenny live tour, and again, I'd never done that before, and so I enlisted the help of Matt to help us figure out. So what'd you do on that?
Yeah, that was a fun one. We kind of went out 3 times before
three
the
times.
last one. Yeah, I went out on 3 of the tours. The first one was Canada-wide, 42 shows, 40 nights. Some were double shows. You know, we'd have days off, etc. But yeah, it was how do we bring Letterkenny to the stage and you know, help everyone experience Letterkenny across the country. It was fun. We designed the set. And we had X amount of resources to sort of get it around the country. So it was the first tour was a 1 bus, a horse trailer for the entire set, all the merch and everything. So that was fun, yeah.
And I think it's so nice because Matt is so good at coming up with the vision for the show. So then to have him come up with the vision for the live show was amazing. And like the first tour was budget.
Bare bones, yeah.
Yeah, it was bare bones. But I think the funny thing is what we figured out on the first tour, we used then on a tour 2 seasons later that was less bare
You brought
bones.
the right guy, because like me.
Yeah.
It was fun. I like that kind of work where you're just kind of like filling the holes. It's like being on a pirate ship, you know. It's like you have the resources. You just wake up in a different place every day, and you know, every day it's like wake up, unload, set up the show, set up VIP. We do the VIP experience. I tear that down. We do either the first show or the only show that night. Tear down, pack up, and by 11:30 we're driving to a new city. But it was lots of fun.
Yeah.
It's fun connecting with all the fans across the both countries. We brought it to the U.S. eventually, and seeing the diversity of folks who come out to watch Letterkenny and who likes it. Moms with their sons, and big groups of people. It was fun. It's really.
What about celebrities?
Well, yeah.
Did any celebrities come out to see
Maddie
it?
wasn't at that show, unfortunately, but yes, Brad
wasn't.
Pitt came to our show in Los Angeles. Not a big deal,
Not a
but
big deal.
I think the touring and like the great shirt that Marty's wearing, I should do this Numetric. But Numetric's business model is basically to come at brands 360. So it's like we make a television show that we love, that's the core, but then we do live tours, we do merch. We try to figure out how the brand can kind of be a 360 experience for fans. Yeah, which Letterkenny Touring has actually done a pretty nice job of.
That's a good place to plug the Shoresy Classic.
Yes, Shoresy Classic. We're doing Shoresy exhibition hockey games in November, where the Shoresy cast is playing against NHL alumni. So we're playing in Toronto against the Leafs, and then in Boston against the Bruins, and probably in some other cities against some other teams.
Back when we were doing Letterkenny Live and we just started Shoresy, I thought for sure we'd do Shoresy on ice,
Yeah.
which would be
Which basically we're doing.
basically we're doing.
So we've all worked together for a really long time, and I think the nice thing about our shows too is that we have crew that have worked with us for quite a bit. And so, Marty, what do you think? Why do people keep coming back to the shows that we work on?
Well, first of all, I have to say, anybody who's worked on the sets, and I see a bunch of faces here, so you guys can all attest. Anybody who works on the Letterkenny Shoresy sets, it's a different experience than working on pretty much any other show, with exceptions. I've had a couple of other shows that sort of like we're close to the same experience. But Letterkenny and Shoresy is the most family atmosphere that I experience on any set, and I hear that from all the cast, all the crew that come in, and I think that begins with Jared. Jared sort of, I know season 1, Jared said he had a no assholes rule. And I distinctly remember it, and thinking, that's just something somebody says, but he has that rule, and he lives behind it.
He doesn't say it anymore, but no,
yeah.
he's got the rule.
But it's just the unspoken rule. We're all there at the end of the day just to produce a hit TV show, and we want people who are there for that same reason. And I think because we've worked together so long, people come back. I mean, some people, myself included, have been offered longer running gigs at maybe even more money, but we choose to come back to this show just because we're part of that family. And also on the other, when you look at it from our perspective, I've known that I've had 6 months of work pretty much guaranteed every year since I've started in this industry, and not a lot of people in film have that sort of knowing that you're going to have at least 6 months of work with these shows. Most people in film are just going show to show to show, and they don't have that sort of, I guess, just like relief of knowing that you at least have some work coming up that you know you're going to be having for sure. So it's good for us, and it's great for the show.
Matt, why do you think people keep coming back?
Oh.
The money, you said earlier, Marty, starts every day.
The money.
It's the money.
Yeah, no. It's like, at least on my side, like we all truly love each other and love working with each other. Louise and my sets team, I've become super dependent on their work style, who they are, the way they get things done, the amount of work they can get done, and they can still have smiles on their faces. The props team are all beauties. They work so hard. They have so much attention to detail. My art department, we're a very tight group. We pretty much do everything together. Yeah, I don't know. It's just the vibe. It's the feeling. It's the work we do. It's how we feel after we finish the work. It's going to bed every night with less stress than any other movie you've worked on, probably. It goes a long way being set up the way we were set up.
Yeah, and I think it's that we're proud of the work we do, and also we're making a comedy. So if people are coming to work and being assholes or it's a shitty place, there's nothing really that funny about that. So I feel like our vibe really lends itself to the shows we're trying to make. At least I hope so. Marty, what would you say is your biggest career accomplishment, or what's your biggest W that you've had on the shows that we worked on?
It's actually from the most recent season of Shoresy, and I won't spoil anything with details because that season's not out yet. But I got to challenge myself in a new role, just out of circumstances. I got to be the first assistant director, which is a role I'd never been in, and a role I always said you couldn't pay me $1 million to do. Literally, I would say that to people, but just due to circumstance, I ended up having to be the first assistant director on Shoresy this past season for 4 days.
One of our biggest days ever.
I was just going to say,
Without a doubt, the biggest day we've ever had on the show,
Biggest
on
day
any of our
ever.
shows.
and that was
Any.
that was my first day in the role. Was on the biggest, like literally the biggest, most complicated day that we've.
That's how much we trust Marty.
big set
yeah.
turnovers, huge effects stuff, tons of extras.
Just printing money every minute that
Yes.
we're there, basically.
a dollar,
Yeah.
a dollar, a dollar, a dollar.
And I got the call the night before, just saying, guess what? You get to be the first assistant director tomorrow. Almost didn't even go to work. Like I was that nervous about it, but the fact that it went as smoothly as it did, and it was just a big personal win for me because I like being challenged, and then I got to do that for the 2 more days that week, and then also taking a second unit out where we hit 8 or 9 different locations in one day. As a mobile unit, which also was like logistically insane.
Yeah.
But
This block was crazy.
yeah, and so those were my biggest personal W's or wins. I would say was doing that.
Yeah, you did great.
You did so great. You guys don't know, but he did so great. It was unbelievable. Yeah, exactly. Matt, what was yours?
I don't know. I think just being on something so long obviously feels great. You know, I got 100 episodes with Letterkenny Shoresy alone under a belt, which I count as one production because the transition. But you know, we created a beer that exists in the world that, you know, Pupper's Golden Lager. It was originally Premium Lager, became Golden Lager.
You also created the whiskey that.
Well, no,
is
that
in
was
the
in the
US.
script. That was.
But you created the logo.
Yeah,
that
that's
is-
true. But
yeah.
we brainstormed Puppers. So Puppers is like, you know, my baby, one of our babies in our department. You know, just to have the opportunity to do the live tours and any work that goes beyond, you know, the screen is super cool. To have like spin-off work from a film or a TV show. I love it.
And why do you think Letterkenny and Shoresy has, like, they're such specific in my Northern Ontario shows? Why do you think they resonate with audiences, or why do you think that they're not just beloved by Canadians but Americans as well? And I think because you were on the tour, you heard the love in real life. So why do you think people respond to it like that?
Yeah, with Letterkenny, I think it's a bit more obvious. I think it's the small town, this friend group, the sort of connection people have to that lifestyle. I think everybody's, you know, if they haven't lived it, they've seen it, or they know someone who's like that or from there. I think that's sort of the Letterkenny appeal. Shoresy is like a little more, not surprising, because it's like so awesome a show, and you know, Jared knows what he's doing. Like those songs, like he's such a good chooser of music. Those are in the script with the time code and everything. He knows exactly what he's doing. So he's just like executing, like, you know, we're executing it, but it comes together so strong. I think the appeal with Shoresy is just, it's awesome. You know, truly cool, awesome people doing funny, awesome stuff.
That should be on our
Sim-
business cards.
just-
Cool, awesome people doing cool, awesome shit. That's all I want to do forever. Marty, you're a fan of, I always say that Marty is like my computer. If I'm trying to think of something that happened in season 2 of Letterkenny, I'll call Marty and be like, who is the background actor in that scene on day 5? And Marty's like, it was blah, blah, blah. Like, you know everything about the show in such a way. So as a fan and also someone who works on them, like, why do you think that they're resonating with people?
Letterkenny, like what Matt said, is I grew up in small town Ontario, Simcoe, Ontario, on a farm. So, I mean, it resonated with me instantly, but for anybody who grew up in small town Ontario, it's, you know somebody who was every character on the show. They might be a little bit embellished, but for the most part, every character is somebody that you grew up with and that you know. And then Shoresy, I mean, for me, I played hockey growing up, so I have the hockey connection. So it's a no-brainer that anybody who plays hockey probably is a fan of that show, because it's authentic hockey. Like, the scenes that you're seeing, they're actually playing hockey, which you don't really see in a lot of other hockey movies or hockey TV shows.
Yeah, like they pop the water bottle off the back of the net every shot.
Yeah.
Like these guys are good.
And it's legitimate hockey players as well. So you're actually seeing authentic hockey. But what I'm surprised by myself is I belong to some message boards because I'm a fan of the show, and I like to see what people think, is the number of just random, like, middle-aged mothers who, like 55-year-old moms who who have never been to a hockey game in their life, who say Shoresy is their favorite show, and I just think it's hilarious. But I think it's the storyline. There's so much heart in it. To me, it's like the Canadian Ted Lasso. If anybody watches Ted Lasso, that's what it reminds me of. Is because there's so much heart in the storylines of.
Ted Lasso is the American Shoresy.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Exactly. So you both have worked in the northern industry for a very long time, and I think you've probably seen it grow and change. And Matt, how do you think the industry in the north is different now than it was maybe when you started?
A lot more organized, obviously. It was the Wild West when I was a young one. Yeah, more people, obviously, more understanding of the industry. It's something that grows over time. Having like unions and everything involved has definitely sharpened and protected everyone up here a lot more too. So that was nice to see all that come together. Yeah, lots has changed.
Marty, what do you think?
Just seeing the growth of the northern filmmakers who all sort of like started entry level. 10 years ago, it was all Toronto, mostly, at least in any key positions, it was all Toronto people. And you'd have some northern people sort of in the lower positions, with some exceptions, but for the most part, that's what it was. But then over the last 10 years, you've just seen northern people stepping up. We still have some Toronto people on our productions, but I'd say it's.
We also have Toronto people who just keep coming, and they've slowly became northern people.
Yeah.
Well, that's
We've turned them into
that is
northern
true.
people.
There are
Absolutely.
Toronto people who live here 9 months of the year and only work on northern shows, which is hilarious to me. But they have families and lives going on in Toronto as well. I don't know how they do it, but so there's the growth of that, and also just with Letterkenny specifically, we were talking about how low budget season 1 was. Seeing the change, because season 1, not even Jared, not one person had their own dressing room. We literally dressed them on the costume truck, and they hung out like outside with each other. They didn't have dressing rooms, and then cut to the final season, and we even have a mobile gym that travels with us. So like things have changed in terms of like the budget of the shows that sort of come up here as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good note. It's not only low budget features, it's also tier A features and tier A shows, and yeah, that makes the cruise better. It's over 50% tier A. Look at that.
Yeah.
Big shows.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to get Marty and Matt to talk a little bit about how someone could get a job in the industry, and then if it's cool with the people, we'll offer it up for questions if there's any questions, if that works. So Matt, what would you say to someone who wanted to get into this industry?
Get in anywhere, be nice, listen, like just, especially if you're going on to on set, or even a set that will be on set tomorrow if you're working in sets or whatever. Like the easiest thing is to just listen and do exactly what you're told. And it's not like, it's because like you have keys and they have so much in their brain and there's so many days and they have a plan. And so like they're just like disseminating this information, and they'll have a process. And if you can listen and do as instructed and have a smile on your face every day and be excited to work, a good attitude will always go further than experience.
100%. Marty?
Just if you're starting out, take any opportunity that you're offered. It might not be in the specific department that you want to be in, but it'll at least get your face to be known to people. Personally, like I said, I volunteered on a few shows while I was in school, and had I not done a locations gig, which was not what I wanted to do, on the show Lost After Dark, I would not have got my job on Letterkenny, because it was through meeting the second AD on that show that got me on Letterkenny season 1 in the department I wanted to be in. So that's just an example of, if you need to be locations. Changing garbages and such might not be what you want to do, but it at least gets you to be networking with the people that can help move you to where you want to be. So take every opportunity you're given. And if you know what you want to do, you can always reach out to the unions that like myself, I'm in the Directors Guild. If you were looking for a position in that, you could reach out to the union. They have what's known as a GAP program, which is the Guild Apprentice program. And they can help get you started out so that you can be getting your foot in the door to get on these productions and work your way up.
Nice. Any questions from the people? Yes.
I understand that Shoresy movie was sort of made. I just wanted to know, like, what was the difference between, like, translating the show into, like, animated over, like, an out feature?
I think your information might be. We have not made a Shoresy movie.
No.
I thought there was, like, an origin thing. Something that took place in 1986 or...
No.
No, unless yeah, we'll look at you. You can show
I
us
want
after.
to make that.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Let's make that after.
Let's do it.
We can we can figure out how to make that earlier. I mean, Letterkenny came from YouTube shorts, and so it did have an interesting origin story in that Jared was an actor who was tired of auditioning and wanted to take some control of his own career, and so he started creating.
Crushed it.
Created some YouTube videos, and he tried a few, and they didn't work, and then he tried Letterkenny Problems, and it did well, and then he turned that into a TV show, and now here we are. Brad Miller, do you have a question? Brad works with us. He is one of us. So
Brad trained me on my first day of Letterkenny.
He
Just a
already
shout
knows
out to
the
Brad
answer
there.
to this question. He's just
Hello?
asking it.
Brad is an angel.
Thank you. Hey, here's a question for you that's like, you know, I wonder if you can answer because I can't really answer for myself. Hey, what do you think, both Matt and Martin, what do you think, like, what are, like, one of the myths, like, when you first stepped on set, like, what were you surprised at? Was there something you're like, oh, I didn't know this is how this is done? Or is there, like, within your, did you think something was a lot more glamorous, but really it was like, oh, it's just this? Were you surprised by anything when you guys first stepped on a set?
I think we should make Brad answer first, and then you guys answer. Brad, what is your answer to that question?
Oh, man. You know, just background. Background's a big one for me. Like,
What is background for the people?
so background performers are people that, you know, make the scene almost real, right? So the people, all these people walking down the street in the background, you see the people crossing by, like
Fans in the stands.
fans in the stands. And, you know, I think a lot of people don't understand how important that is, because if you took all those background performers out of that scene, it's just a couple people standing in an empty street, right? Where, you know, we mimic reality, right? So, you know, the background performers are the ones that really set the reality of, like, we're in a street in Chicago or wherever we're pretending we're, you know, in the stands in hockey, right?
We do a lot of fake clapping too. Yeah. Exactly.
It's the last layer. It's
Background?
100% the last layer that goes in. It's like the cherry on top. Like everything, they set up a scene, you block it, they rehearse it a bunch of times, and then they bring in the background and they have like mere moments to like think about who they're gonna be in this in this scene, and they do it. You know, that's the last layer. I think background's a magical thing, and you know, you don't always get time to play with it in TV, but in movies and whatnot, there's an opportunity to like use that to add like a certain layer of life to your scene. You know, it's not always a fully realized level of the production, because you always have like just that last moment to get it in there, but you know, it's so important. So
And
key.
on Shoresy, so the Sudbury Arena holds 4,500 people, and to fill that would be a nightmare. So we bring in like 250 people, and then we tile them, which basically means we put them in different parts of the arena, and then VFX puts it all together so it looks like a full arena. And so that is also
Yeah, there's a couple shots of wide in Shoresy looking at the ice, and you'll see every stand has the same. You won't see, but every section has the same 200 people in it, just in different arrangements.
Yeah, they're moved around, but they are
Yeah.
because I've looked, and you can. It's funny because you can actually see that
You
it's
see
the
the
exact
team.
same people, just in a different configuration, and but in every section of the arena, because it would just be just think about how much money it would cost us to fill that arena with actual humans. Plus, how would we do it? Like
Well.
finding 250 to actually show up on time is not an easy feat.
We're not the Sudbury Wolves. We can't pack.
Yeah,
them.
that's true. That's true. And just on the note, what Matt was saying, that as assistant directors, the AD department, that was something I learned from Alex Champagne. He always said because we don't have much of a hand in the creatives, we're doing more of the logistics and the scheduling. But background was our one opportunity to have a little bit of to add our creativity, because the assistant directors are the ones who set and managed the background. So that was our opportunity to actually lend a hand to the creative. Like when we're shooting at the gym, the things that the people are doing in the background on the machines. And sometimes
that's funny because I feel like that was you and that was Champagne's masterclass in background.
It was, and it's funny because like when you're watching those scenes, sometimes what's going on in the background is even funnier than what's going on in the foreground. If anybody remembers seeing any of those,
Like
gym
two
scenes.
dudes doing deep squats together.
Yeah. Things and
That kind
the
of
ropes
stuff.
and So and so that was our, as assistant directors, our one opportunity to actually sort of like have get to show our creative sides, because we don't get to that often.
Nice. Great question, Brad.
Hi, I'm Nancy Griffin. I'm a prof at Cambrian College, although I'm thinking of moving to Canadore now. My question is, I teach media communications and public relations, and I'm interested in opportunities for students to do placements and things like that. Would my best connection for something like that in Northern film industry be connecting someone at the Guild Apprentice program, or should I talk to someone at New Metric Media, or what do you think is the best?
Scion too. Scion's
Yeah,
a good
Scion as well. It's a good place to talk to folks. Yeah, I think someone that, like myself or someone at New Metrics, I think it's depending on what they want to do. I think if they want to be in the art department, I think or in AD, talking to the DGC. If they want to do like more marketing or communication or like publicity or that kind of stuff, I think they can come to me and we can see if there's a fit. But yeah, I think depending on what they want to do, I can direct you in the right direction. So
Yeah,
you can
we've
come to
even
me.
had some classes through to just chat with us at lunch and stuff a few times.
So Jared does this amazing thing. So he will bring the Listowel high school kids who are in drama in Listowel, which is where he grew up. So he'll bring the Listowel drama kids to Sudbury, and they'll be background for a day. But what he does is he organizes like a thing where crew talk to the students and essentially explain what they do. Because and to be honest, myself, because I'm from Timmins, like it's hard for kids to know that these jobs exist.
So many jobs.
So many jobs. It's not just producer, writer, director. There's all of these amazing jobs that contribute to making good things. So we do that with the Listowel kids.
Yeah, I always say, and I truly believe, no matter what your skill set is, there is a job in film for every human being that exists on this earth, no matter what they're, no, but no matter
You
what
need
your-
no
whatever-
education. You need no post-secondary.
Whatever your skill set is, whatever your
Just
passion
go
is.
to film.
But I truly believe that. But until you work in the industry, you don't know that. Because until I worked in, the first show that I volunteered on when I was in Canada, or first year, it was like 3 weeks in, and they already had us going out on a film, Algonquin it was called. Played at Cinefest back 12 years ago or so. But and they said, "What do you want to do?" And I didn't know how to answer, so I said, "Costumes, wardrobe." And that's what I did on that show. I have no interest in doing costumes or wardrobe, but it was the only position I knew existed because I didn't know anything about film. And I feel like that's probably the way it is for a lot of people. Until you actually set foot on a film set and you see all the positions, you don't know. You know what I mean? You know that there's actors and you know there's a director. And then there's like 100 other people that are doing something, but you just don't know what it is.
Thank you. So I could trade contact information
Yeah,
with you
absolutely.
after? Awesome.
Yeah.
I used to do news in Wingham, by the way, Listowel.
Oh, nice.
I used to cover Listowel Town Council.
Oh, cool. Um, Kevin, you have a question?
Kara, I'd love if you could share a little bit of your journey and how you came to be in this role. And for the three of you, if you think back, as you were saying, 15 years ago, could you ever have predicted where you'd be today with the products, the shows, the live events, and what does it look like 15 years from now?
Oh, so those are great questions. So the first question I'm going to answer quickly because so I also went to school. Also, kind of like what Matt said, a bit of a waste of time. But while I was in school, I interned, and my first job was Talk Sex with Sue Johansson. If anyone remembers that show.
Legendary.
So I interned on that show, and somebody liked me, and then I got a job, And then I worked at Bell. I was a production executive, and I was in the pitch for Letterkenny on the other side. So I actually worked at Crave when it was first pitched. And then after season 2, I was working somewhere else, and I just texted Mark, who's my boss, and said, I think you need me. Would you like to hire me?
I did the same thing.
And he said, I do. And that was it. And then I started on season 3 of Letterkenny in this position, and now I am here forever. I think I'm going to answer the 15 years ago and 15 years in the future question. I knew that what we were doing was special. Like, I think if you meet Jared and you read and see how creatively gifted he is, I think you can see that what he's doing is special. But then I think also when we get to work with the people we work with, I think you know that what we're doing is also pretty special. So I think I knew it was going to be good. I didn't imagine that I would tour something multiple times. I didn't imagine that I would work on something that was so well liked in multiple different markets. And I think 15 years from now, I hope we're still doing the same thing. I mean, Jared has a big deal that he got with Crave, and we're hoping that a lot of that will be shot here. And so we'll get to make some brand new shows with these fine people and create some new stuff that also hopefully does well and tours. And so, yeah, I hope the next 15 years are exactly like the previous 15 years. Marty.
Kara, we have an online question.
Oh, but they didn't answer the 15 years question.
We can get back to it. Good.
Oh, yeah. You go, Marty.
Okay. About 15 years ago, I hadn't even thought about working in this industry, to be honest. What's 15 years? Yeah, no, I hadn't applied to school. It was sort of on a whim. I was working in a call center, and nothing against call centers, but it wasn't where I was meant to live my life. And just one day I realized that, and I hopped online and just was like, what would I want to do? And I applied for Canador cinematography program that day and applied for OSAP. And thank God I did. But so I didn't think I would be here, but I can say if I was told that where I would be now to myself 15 years ago, like it's just sort of like the dream to be working on a show that is also one of your favorite shows and all your family and friends' favorite shows. So you get so much street cred with them. And they come up and get to be, background for a day. A lot of my friends have, and you're sort of like the town hero. So it's kind of cool. And I collect action figures, and the fact that there were Letterkenny and Shoresy Funkos that I could own was really exciting for me as well. So I'm living the dreams basically. And like Kara said, I hope 15 years from now we're doing exactly what we're doing now. Only I'll be in Kara's role with her, but I'll be in her role.
More money for Martin.
You can hire me. I'm okay with that. Maddie?
Yeah, I was like grip electricing 15 years ago, so I was, definitely hoping to transition to a more creative department, which eventually came my way because, by the end of Miteo Plus, the designer had messaged me and said, you're grip electric, but you work hard. Do you want to be in sets and props? And I was literally like gonna call him that week. So it kind of came together for me in that regard and started my path towards where I am now. 15 years from now, though, this industry could be crazy. In Northern Ontario, we could maybe finally have one of those studios we keep hearing about. And hopefully that comes together. We're already making the big shows up here, so I don't think it'll be like a whole nother world up here, but I think we could easily still be one of the biggest film production centers in Canada like we are, and we'll just keep working hard, keep bringing the projects up.
Go ahead, Jody. Sorry.
So you may have answered this a little, but for any more, so Liz from Parry Sound, do you have any advice on how I can best showcase my transferable skills from my non-traditional background when trying to break into the film production world?
I think that's good. Yeah. I feel like at least in my role, I think a lot of my skills are soft skills. Like I'm not as creatively gifted as Matt. I'm not as logistically gifted as Marty. But I think the skills in terms of working well with people, knowing how to collaborate, I think knowing how to communicate with people. I think like Maddie said, being a good person, caring about the work you do, I think is a transferable skill. I think if you really care about the people and the work, that's a skill that can't be taught, and I think that can apply to any industry. You boys?
Yeah, I mean, depending on what your skills are, you might want to just sort of look at what departments those transition into. It could be broad. There could be multiple choices for you. So, you're going to want to just get your foot in the door, try to use your abilities to impress people. That's pretty much what it's all about, impressing others and being accessible and being collaborative and working smart and listening.
Sorry, before you go, I'm just going to say the thing about Marty and Matt, why they are the best, is they make themselves invaluable. And that, again, is not a hard skill. That is, it doesn't matter what we're doing or what problem we're dealing with. Marty and Matt are going to figure out a way to solve it in their own department and also support other departments. And I think that is, that's also a very important skill. Sorry, Marty.
No, but I agree with that. To anybody, make yourself invaluable, and that way the shows can't run without you. And that way
100%. I can't run shows without them. I wouldn't want to.
I mean, everybody's. One of the first things I was told when I worked in this industry is everyone's replaceable, which is such a pessimistic attitude. But I had a producer or somebody say that to me. But I say make yourself
irreplaceable.
It's not that we're irreplaceable, but make yourself so that they would never want to replace you because you make their lives so much easier.
Make the world suck without you.
Yeah, yeah,
it's true.
But, I mean, do that in your everyday life too. Just make your But I mean, it sounds like sort of like hokey but it's a fact that it's a good motto, a simple fact to live by. And I was just going to say to that online person, if they're wondering. Sort of their question, if they're wondering how to figure out what their current skills could transfer into film, I would say talk to somebody who works in the industry, or maybe just Google the various unions to see what the job positions are and see where your current skill set might be able to translate into a film position.
And I always say too that people in this industry love to talk and usually so if you reach out to see someone doing something that you think is interesting on something, then reach out. They'll probably be cool for you to take them for a coffee.
They might not call you next week, but they might call you in 3 months or 1 year or something down the road. They might remember you. It's just like get out there, start the network. And good luck, Liz, Parry Sound.
Good luck, Liz.
Hey, Kara.
Brad.
Hey, can I add something to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, so one of the, I know it might sound strange, but talking about, taking other skills and how can they work in film, a very good example in my own experience, this isn't everybody's. If you want to go work in film and you don't know if that's the right place for you, I know one thing I did was I went and worked in a restaurant because that's the pace that a film set is. And being able to have, like we said, our one of our best assets is our attitudes on set. That's why a lot, I'm going to put myself in this group.
100%.
Yeah, a lot of us have stayed with the crew is because of our attitudes. And I work at the trailer, so a lot of actors tell me how much they appreciate me. We're all part of the process, right? A bad attitude in front of an actor can really destroy an actor's performance, right? Like my job as with actors is to make sure they get good energy in the morning. But anyway, going back to what I was saying is, a restaurant is one of the best places. It doesn't matter which department in the restaurant industry. It really sets a tone for this is the pace of the industry, and this where someone's ordering something from start to finish, it's almost the same. So if you can handle working in a restaurant, you can handle working
There's
on a
also
film
like
set.
interdepartmental sort of crossover, and it's definitely comparable, and it definitely just as crazy and hard work. Lots of standing.
Also, if you want to just see how a film set runs, probably the easiest in to get you on set to see what's going on would be to sign up with one of the local BG casting agencies, because that won't get you to see all the behind the scenes, but it'll get you on set, and you'll sort of just get a feel for the process of setting up, cameras rolling, scenes beginning. And at least if you've never been on a film set, it can give you an inside look, because you're right there in the heart of what's going on, because you're in front of the cameras with the actors.
Yeah.
So that's a
And
good way.
watch the first AD. Like when I was
Yeah.
a grip electric on Mitsio Plus, Arel Cadet, who was the first AD then, is now the first AD on Letterkenny. I used to just, and I tell him this all the time, I used to just watch him, and I used to watch his expectations of all the departments, because they're calling for everything to happen. They were running the whole day, every department. So I just watched them, and I watched what they expected, and then I learned to do everyone's job. And if you know how to do everyone's job, you can do your job a lot better.
Yeah.
I actually had a question for the panel. Okay, so when I saw Letterkenny the first time is how I decided I could move to the Northern Ontario, because I was like, you guys are making shows that are as good as anywhere, and blew me away. But the thing that I found amazing, you touched on it a little bit, is everyone kind of had that experience of the characters or somebody they met that was that way. But when you look at Shoresy, it's a very specifically Sudbury on a lot of layers. So now that I'm here and I meet the people, how do you creatively do that? Like you're placing, Eddie from his restaurant is in a scene, and it's really detailed on a deep way. And just how is that creative process? I was hoping you could speak to that a little bit. Or what
So
happened.
I think the thing, Letterkenny is that specific to Listowel, which is where Jared grew up. But because I don't know Listowel, but that's Jared's. He's so smart. But that, in my opinion, is one of his secret sauces. Is that everything is that specific. In that when he's writing a show, he doesn't just want it to be a generic place. When he's making a joke about a person, it's not generic person. It's his grade 3 teacher. He will actually name people from high school in his jokes. And Sudbury, when he was making Shoresy, he loves that he can lean into Sudbury. So he, using the places that he eats at, using the people that he sees every day. When we shot at Eddie's, Jared eats breakfast. Jared eats breakfast at Eddie's pretty often. Don't tell a lot of people. And so because he goes there on a regular basis, he loves Eddie and he loves the people who work there.
Yeah.
And so when we shot there, they were the people who were in the restaurant, and Eddie was the person who served him. Because for him, you want it to feel real and you want it to feel specific. And I think that's where a lot of his comedy comes from, and I think that's why it's so fucking good.
Yeah, every block he might sort of email me ahead of time and be like, I'm trying to think of some places for this, and do you have any? And we'll go through a list and we'll discuss it. And Deluxe came up this block. I won't share too much info on it, but he's like, okay, I'm going to go eat breakfast there. And he texted me that morning. He's like, I'm eating eggs off a paper plate on Regent Street right now, and I love it. So that was his first breakfast at Deluxe this year, 2024.
And just as a fan of the shows, I have to say, I can remember the first time it was the show Being Erica that was shot in Canada.
I just brought that up today.
Yeah, that's really fun.
And I remember watching that show, and there were references to things in Toronto, because I used to live in Toronto, that I knew. And just as a fan of a show, it tickled me, seriously, because they're referencing things and places that I actually go to and I know. And I thought that was so cool. So I can only imagine what it's like I mean, I'm a fan of Shoresy, but for the fans from Sudbury, when they're watching it, because it is such a love letter to Sudbury. We've showcased 10 restaurants in Sudbury, I'd say at least, with the actual crew that work in there being the crew that are working on it. Even Eddie getting a little bit of a speaking role from Eddie's. Yeah, I think it's just like I said, a love letter to Sudbury, and I think Jared had that in mind to pay back Sudbury for everything that he feels Sudbury has done for him with Letterkenny.
Absolutely, he loves Sudbury as much as he loves home.
Yeah.
If there are any final thoughts, I think we're going to wrap up.
No, I think there's. Could we take that
there
quick
was- oh, I
question?
didn't see it. I'm sorry.
Oh, did you have your hand up?
I was just going to piggy off from Liz from Perry Sound's question in the sense that what is missing right now as far as positions that you guys are looking for to fill that might be not as readily available for folks that are trying to get into the industry, perhaps giving them a little carrot?
I would say accounting. We have Crawford here, who is one of our accountants' brothers. Accounting is, we have the best accounting team, and I will own them as long as we can. But there aren't a lot of accountants who are, I would say, in the union or good up north. It's actually, I think, a pretty
Accountants, props, effects are like
Yep.
lowly staffed departments in Northern Ontario, and sound.
Sound.
Yeah, sound. ADs, we're
ADs.
always assistant directors. We're always looking for assistant directors and for entry level like step PAs to get your foot in the door. The guild will permit during the strike. They weren't allowing it, but they're back to allowing shows to permit people to bring you in, so you don't have to be a member of the union. But yeah, ADs. I think ADs, because ADs sort of interact with every department, I think it's a good place to start getting your foot in the door personally.
And there's actually not that many art department people specifically in Sudbury right now either.
Yeah, and saying over here, office folk, office and crafts. That's the departments that Ann covers with her union. And
Shout out to 411.
Yep. But yeah, the office folk, that's another good place to get your foot in the door, because it gets you there during prep and shooting, so it's a bit of a longer gig, and you're also learning sort of like the ins and outs of the behind the scenes stuff that happens in the office.
Yeah, just know that in Northern Ontario, you got IA 634 that represents technicians. That's prop sets, construction paint, drivers, hair, makeup, costumes. Then you got 411, which is office staff, accounting, craft.
Accounting's DGC.
Yeah, sorry. DGC, which is accounting, ADs, art department, and then ACTRA.
And locations.
Yeah.
And locations for DGC, yeah. So you got lots of
Lots
hubs
of unions,
to,
yeah.
Awesome.
Oh,
Thank you.
question. Or Devin, do you want us to wrap it up?
Maybe one more, and then we're done.
Thank you. I'm from Timmins, Economic Development.
Nice. Go Timmins.
We met last year. I wanted to tell a story because it kind of the love story of Sudbury is so evident. But I was in Oklahoma last year for international economic development. 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting at a table with two guys that are definitely on the upper range of 60 years old. And we're introducing ourselves, and they, where are you from? And I said, well, Canada, Toronto. I said, I'm north of Toronto. I said, do you know where Sudbury is? They started going on about Letterkenny. Now, these two guys did not know themselves, did not know each other, and they both started talking about episodes and going back and forth. Meanwhile, I got a guy on stage. It was during tornado season, and they were telling us what would happen if the siren went off, where the exits were, and I'm trying to listen because I love the conversation, but then at the same time, I'm finding out where I have to go if the siren goes off. And they just went on. And these two guys did not know each other. Like I said, they were both easily over 65, 66, I would give them, and went on and on about the show. And we're from Oklahoma. Both of them happen to be from Oklahoma. So there is a love story. There's something there that connects. There's a secret sauce. like we said.
Everywhere in the world. I
Yeah.
was in a hostel in Iceland, and I met a guy from New Zealand and a guy from Ireland, and they were both just start going off about Letterkenny, and I
they
didn't
do.
even bring it up.
They start talking about episodes and they bounce off each other. Like there's this love story that's happening there. But I think, Kara, I guess when we're looking at workforce, the fact that this is filmed in Sudbury right off the bat does give us a bit of a leg up for even those the kids that are in the high schools or looking at the careers to understand this does happen. And then for you, for Timmins, you get brought up all the time. Your ears must ring. Because it is really important for people to understand that this does happen in Northern Ontario. This you can happen if you're from Timmins originally, and those things happen. So it's important, and I thank you for doing what you're doing right now because that is important for us to bring back. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
you.
the picture I took of you is going to be all over my Facebook.
Ah.
Just letting you know.
My friends' moms will text me for sure. Any final words, Matt? Go.
No. I'm super grateful to be a part of the team. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, Marty.
I'm just going to echo that. I'm very grateful to be where I am.
10 more years. Let's do it.
10 more
Easily.
years.
Easily. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm also super grateful. I think it's so great to work on things we like with people we love in a place we also love. This is, we're living the dream. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.